Okay, this is a statement this afternoon by members of Parliament in support of peace and reconciliation, from building bridges to opening of wounds. Yesterday's public statement by Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, is yet another installment of the zealous antics staged purely for cheap publicity to anchor partisan political narratives and fuel divisive agendas. This ugly charade started immediately after 2017 elections through an overhyped campaign of vindictive profiling and selective prosecution, pretending to be waging a war on corruption. Yet to date, there has been no progress and no light shed on any of the dramatic allegations used to justify destructive crackdowns. What has instead become clear is that Kinoti's mission was a campaign of ethnic and political vendetta aimed at eliminating officers from the public service on account of mistaken and misplaced perceived affiliations and replacing them with acceptable homeboys or home guards, if you will. It was also calculated at profiling the deputy president as corrupt in furtherance of political sabotage. Despite the unorthodox method employed targeting a host of qualified public servants who got their jobs on merit, no case has successfully been prosecuted in court. Instead, those behind this scheme have quietly been trying to negotiate with those they illegally and unfairly removed from office, with sweeteners of paying them off to drop the cases. The next dramatic installment was to coerce, harass, and intimidate members of Parliament who were seen to lean towards the deputy president. Trumped up, unfounded, and fake allegations were made against them solely to make them change their political stand. During this period, and to make them surrender to the unknown political forces, security personnel of some of the legislators were withdrawn. When this did not yield as much result as expected, a new scheme was hatched to remove them from parliamentary committees. The MPs were coerced and beaten into voting to support violently corrupt and tyrannical illegitimate changes to House committees and leadership at both the Senate and at the National Assembly. As per the well-known practice, Kinoti was eagerly deployed by his masters to announce the commencement of investigations and the assembling of evidence as the basis for prosecuting leaders for various trumped-up offenses. Yet this was only cover-up for his deplorable errands at the behest of sinister political masters. As usual, there has been no further progress of public information on those cases ever since the objective of violently overthrowing parliamentary leadership was achieved. Kinoti and his masters are back in town once again. This time round, with the announcement of the opening of investigations into the post-election violence, the PEV, which took place between late 2007 and early 2008. In so doing, they conveniently and selectively focused their attention to some incidents, areas, and victims. It is clear that Kinoti and his masters only wish to cynically exploit the terrible traumas of PEV to anchor a diabolical and divisive political agenda, distract public attention from his paymasters' political frustrations, incite communities into violent conflict, coerce Kenyans into supporting the doomed BBI adventure, and undermine their rivals' standing. For Kinoti and his masters, PEV is all about selling fear in the Rift Valley and coercing its residents into supporting toxic and divisive political enterprises and problematic 2022 succession schemes. Kinoti's masters are the same shadowy puppeteers who schemed to similarly employ PEV and the ICC to prevent their excellencies on Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto from ascending to political leadership. Then, as now, they fabricated fictitious evidence and suborned perjury by corruptly inducing venerable Kenyans to tell lies under oath in support of vindictive fabrications. They failed badly and ended up severely embarrassing the ICC and the Republic of Kenya. Unfortunately, Kinoti's accomplices have executed the latest travesty on Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta's watch. His Excellency the President, who is well seized of the PEV and our country's unfortunate experience with politically instigated mayhem, must not allow fraudsters, liars, and opportunists to brazenly dance on the graves of those who perished in the PEV. A legitimate decision to obtain accountability for the PEV through the due process of law in a public, transparent, and impartial process is always welcome. Kinoti's insultingly hollow and transparent spectacle and mediocre attempt at deception and political intrigue fall far below any legitimate and acceptable standard. The cynicism behind Kinoti's shameful charades is chilling, immoral, backward, and reprehensible. It contradicts the government's public position that has been canvassed by the Attorney General as well as the President on behalf of the Republic, locally before Parliament and internationally in multilateral forums. The facts and contents of PEV, as well as the process and status of investigations, prosecutions, and their outcomes, is well documented. For Kinoti to purport to single-handedly overturn the substantial work of serious institutions on the basis of ridiculous figments is recklessly contemptuous and callously insensitive. Political machination must have its limits. Scheming and adversarial intrigue must respect victims, the vulnerable, truth, and a measure of ethics. As we speak, we have lost more than 1,400 Kenyans to COVID, while over 77,000 have been infected. The death, suffering, and financial catastrophe that has befallen Kenyans is chiefly as a result of criminal negligence and runaway corruption in the institutions charged with protecting the health and safety of Kenyans, including KEMSA. When corruption directly leads to the death of innocent people, it is murder. They have been promises to investigate and bring the COVID billionaires, aka the COVID murderers, to justice. Kinoti has been oblivious and conspicuously unwilling to pursue these ongoing heinous murders because the perpetrators are also his masters. Shame on him. Shame. This is how cavalier and hypocritical Kinoti and his masters are. They neither care about Kenyans nor about justice. They only care about short-term, mischievous, deceptive, and hollow political drama. The statement by Kinoti amounts to incitement and provocation of the peaceful citizens of Kenya. How unfortunate are we in this country that in the middle of a devastating pandemic, a divisive BBI referendum is being forced on Kenyans, and to add insult to injury, incitement of communities is being conducted by state organs.
Shame. Shame.
We ask His Excellency the President one question. What is the guarantee that we shall still have a country left with all these evil and destructive schemes perpetrated through state offices? As leaders, we ask the citizens, especially residents of the Rift Valley, to resist the provocation and incitement to violence by the DCI Kinoti and his evil networks.
Peace must prevail.
Jubilee was born of a covenant before man and God, that no citizen's blood will ever be shed on account of political competition, and vowed that no amount of provocation will tempt us to depart from our sacred commitment. Considering that the DCI has revisited the Waki report, we demand a comprehensive strategy from the President, clearly indicating the program and plan of action across the country on the implementation of the Waki reports. In this spirit of revisiting, we also ask the President to address the nation on the fate of the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, TJRC report, and as well as the recommendations of all the past commissions of inquiry. This will forestall political hirelings from weaponizing such reports in future for divisive political agendas, the way DCI Kinoti is now abusing victims of PEV for political sport. On our part, we restate our commitment to the peace and reconciliation agenda that was formalized in Nakuru in 2012. The promise abides, the mission continues. The mission continues. Thank you very much.
Peace, love, and unity. Stop incitement. 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 Peace, love, and unity. Stop incitement.